As a case in point, Mlambo-Ngcuka provided a snapshot of progress. In Beijing in 1995, when then US First Lady Hillary Clinton famously said women's rights are human rights, and vice versa, there were just 12 women heads of state or government. Today, we have 22 out of 193 countries.
Women's leadership, including young women, is vital in the face of urgent need to rebuild better after COVID. Women and people of the world are demanding these changes. In the decade of action, in the context of SDGs, there is no longer excuses for these imbalances. Multilateralism and the UN are indispensable, and women believe in it, and that it must become even more inclusive.
She indicated that women were now demanding a leapfrog to 50% representation or parity in all spheres, from government to boardrooms to peace negotiations to closing the digital divide. A call for bold steps, not incremental ones.
This is the time for disruptors, young and old. Time for actions to change the course of history for women and girls, especially women between the ages 25 and 34, who are increasingly more likely to live in extreme poverty than their male counterpart. It's time to bring an end to discriminatory laws, norms, and homophobia, to end men's violence against women and girls, and a concerted effort to put women at the heart of climate justice.
Her boss, the UN chief, has called gender equality the greatest human rights challenge facing the globe today.
This is fundamentally a question of power. And so it starts with equal representation of women in leadership positions, in governments, boardrooms, in climate negotiations, and at the peace table. Everywhere decisions are taken that affect people's lives.
China, as host of the Beijing conference 25 years ago, called for women to advance at the forefront of our times, while China's president dipped his hat to the women frontline workers during this COVID-19 pandemic.
In China, at the height of the battle against COVID-19, more than 40,000 health workers from across the country rushed to Hubei province, which was the hardest hit by the virus, and 2/3 of them were women. Among them was a nurse from Guangdong province who had not yet reached the age of 20. Answering a reporter's question on whether she was too young to help others, she said, "The moment I put on the protective suit, I'm not a kid anymore." Those words moved the whole nation.
While the plight of the world's 80 million refugees, of which over half are women and girls, continue to be a major concern.
COVID-19 is exacerbating inequality for so many young girls, and of course, the LGBTQI community. Because of the social and economic impacts of the pandemic, many displaced women and girls are also at increased risk of being forced into survival sex and early child marriage by their families. But forcibly displaced women are agents of change, challenging the status quo, fighting for girls' rights, and of course using their voices to demand equality.
And in this decade of action towards the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, achieving Goal 5, or gender equality and empowerment, could be a game changer for the world as we know it. Sherwin Brycepease, SABC News, New York.